All right, y'all. So we have a video we're gonna react to, y'all. Shout out to Fantastic Hip Hop. So he did a video that says how the new Clipse album changed everything. Tyler did Drake, Kendrick went nuclear. So let's just what he's saying is. Let's get it.
The intro today because it's truly one of the best days that you can ever have as a hip-hop fan. And now if you are celebrating Merry Clipsmas, be sure to leave a like and subscribe before we go any further. And for all the bots, smear campaigns, and antics over this record release from both Travis Scott and Drake and their horrible fans, leave a like so everyone can see how we are so back and real lyricism is taking over the culture once again. And now with that said, well, right now when it comes to the brand new Clipse Return album, Let God Sort Him Out, I have to say, with the first impressions, after listening to this record and going through and seeing what Pusha T, Malice, and Pharrell have cooked up to feel like the Avengers equivalent of...
Yeah, man. Shout out to Pharrell, man. He delivered this. I like the production of the album, though, man. Shout out to Pharrell for that. I think he's one of my top 5 favorite producers of all time, though, man.
A rap album? Well, somehow, despite all the hype and one of the best rollouts that we have seen in years and years, well, even after setting the bar so high, the Clipse didn't just manage to live up to every single promise they gave us, but they really went above and beyond, as everybody from Pusha T and Malice to TylerTheCreator and KendrickLamar to surprises like Stevie Wonder got to shine here, whether it was from dissing, which we were going to get into that, Hall of Fame level raps, or from saying some of the most powerful things you possibly could on a record. And now with this album really turning into this one-of-a-kind space where so many Hall of Fame level artists were able to contribute to and add that, especially in a rap game that has never been more divided and filled with vultures, to just silence everybody the way we are seeing right now, or just making people crash out entirely with the moments that they can't handle. Well, with what Clipse is doing, they are showing that they have this superpower that only one other album has been able to pull off in terms of having this massive cultural impact right on its release in this post-beef era. And of course, what I am talking about is none other than Kendrick Lamar and GNX. And now, of course, as Kendrick is featured on this record, and from Pharrell and Pusha T to even TylerTheCreator, who was at the pop-out, so many of the main players here have been at the center of the movement to save hip-hop from Drake and all of the losers on his side. And just to quickly take a step further, if we want to be technical, it's really a full circle moment because the Kendrick and Drake beef as a whole all came from the domino effect that first started when Birdman and Lil Wayne started beefing with the Clipse and Pharrell, all because, of course, Birdman didn't want to pay Pharrell for a beat. Well, when we just see how all of that now has brought us to this very moment, what we are seeing, in a sense, is an album that does feel like a spiritual successor to GNX and a canon event for the entire lineage of hip-hop. And now with Push, Malice, Pharrell, Nas, Tyler, and so many others being a part of this album, well, in the grand sense, what we are seeing is all of these names stand within Kendrick Lamar's movement and keep the flag that he planned to shift rap back in place. And really, just seeing the effort that went into this record and how it all came to be. Seeing everybody come together like this really speaks volumes, and every artist and fan should applaud this, because this album is standing up for free speech and expression in hip-hop in a time where they want to take that away, which is something that both Malice and Push have emphasized over and over again during their rollout. And when you just listen to every single song here, what you need to understand is that one of the core messages at the center of this all is they are treating hip-hop as one of the final frontiers of free expression in all of art, and it just makes every single bar here hit all the harder for it. And now beyond the stakes of this all, which makes this record feel like one of the most important bodies of work you will hear for a long time to come, well, now when we get into the actual 13-track musical epic that the Clipse has embarked on here, what I will say is that it is the pure embodiment of everything that this genre in hip-hop has aspired to be, both in terms of what its pioneers, goats, and current leaders all want to achieve. And I mean, when you see the features and realize that the title track of the record itself is grounded by the guy who literally set the gold standard for what a rap album should be in Illmatic, and of course Nas, which we will speak more about his feature later, but then also in terms of stardom and the lineage of greatness, it spans so far all the way that the current face of rap is on this thing as well in Kendrick Lamar. Well, in terms of the span of the lineage in between having one of the goats from the golden age and then the goat now in Kendrick, and then, of course, Clipse, whose rise and prime alongside Pharrell was right in the middle of both of these leaders' very different eras in rap. just in terms of the optics and presentation of this record, it was designed to somehow carry the same traits that all lyricists were changed forever by Willfilmatic, but also the same flair that modern blockbuster rap records are getting like GNX. And now speaking of Kendrick Lamar, well, this is the perfect place to just dive into the record from, because when it comes to what the current king of rap did here, well, he left his mark on this record like only few other MCs ever could, and with Kendrick alongside two of the greatest spitters of all time in both Push and Malice. Well, with this legendary duo teaming up with the King, they made something that Drake is going to have nightmares about and has to be so mad that they were finally able to release. And quick side note, with all of the drama that went on between Clipse and Def Jam, which all happened because of Drake really threatening to bring paperwork into Rap Beef, and of course Push could not do what he wanted. Well, after seeing the fallout they had, the fact that Def Jam came out of nowhere with a Justin Bieber album ready for the same day, well, listen, with all the other smear campaigns we have seen, I do think that this does show that the label is still in some way trying to mute the noise of Drake's most feared rivals being on a song together, and honestly, when you see the full extent of this song and what it turned into, well, listen, even if the song wasn't incredible, just to be able to say and express yourself freely, it was worth doing what you had to do to get out of that Def Jam deal to get this song out in the first place. But now with how good it is, and now with what we have come to find out as Pusha T confirmed this in one of the most recent interviews the Clipse did, well, now, as we officially know that Kendrick sent the first draft of this record and decided to record it when he was camping out in the studio and waiting to release career-ending diss tracks on Drake at any time in 2024, well, first off, the fact that Kendrick recorded this in literally one of the most important and most watched runs we have ever seen from any rapper ever. I mean, stop discrediting Kendrick and the guy's pen and saying that he can't write quick, because he clearly is better and faster than all of these guys. And when you know this and now see that Drake and all the losers in hip-hop are going to end up hearing this and see this iteration of Kendrick, which really sounds more angry and comes with more fury than ever, I mean, you know, for the OVO fans, this is going to remind them of some terrible times, and it absolutely should. Because seriously, with the buildup of Push and then Malice to then Kendrick's verse, which says so much over the production from Pharrell, which sounds like it's straight out of a film score, well, really with all of this, Clipse just shows that with these elite-level raps and production from Pharrell, that truly should remind everybody that he is in the GOAT combo in the producer category if you forgot. That overall, Clipse is taking names throughout this entire record, and this is exactly what we see through so many other moments going forward. And now, speaking of sending messages and making all-time moments, well, Clipse has continued to work with the best right after having Kendrick on Chains and Whips, because after getting the best rapper out right now on this thing, well, they seemingly looked on the hip-hop power rankings and got the guy who was right behind Kendrick in none other than TylerTheCreator for the track POV. And now on this song that is just the biggest dream come true for Tyler, well, Push, Malice, and Pharrell all showed out on this track with the guy who has idolized all of them, and between Push's more low-key flow but sharper bars and the beat, which is just so eerie in the best way, well, overall, when you see how this song turns into this haunting banger, it becomes a warning to the rap game and a statement song where Pusha T especially breaks down what he stands for in this part of his career and in the landscape of everything right now as a whole. And now with TylerTheCreator's verse, well, he really did deliver one of the best features that I have ever heard from him, and right alongside Push and Malice, Tyler managed to make a verse that feels so fly and luxurious, but at the same time, it's so smart and complex because it rejects the norms of the culture we see in a lot of mainstream rap, and at the same time, well, as TylerTheCreator has a lyric here where he mentions a peer of his that was trying to sue. Well, he got into some trouble, as of course everybody thought that this was about none other than Drake, and really rightfully so, especially considering the context of the last track, which was almost lost because of this very reason. But now, as Tyler seemingly had some posts to let everybody know ready about not just the album's release, but the line specifically, what Tyler revealed is that this wasn't about Drake, which of course we all thought, and it was about somebody else who he used to be close with and make music alongside. And just based on what we know so far about this verse, well, while there is a chance that this line could be about Ye, in terms of Tyler saying this is a former close friend and all that, to just add a little more of what we know, as Playboi Carti did have a verse on the song Tyler and Schoolboy Q had on Chromacopia, but it only made it on the limited test pressing version of the vinyl and not the final cut. Some people do think that this is about him, but as Carti did headline Camp Flog Gnaw, I am not ready to say that for sure, so that leaves us with maybe some other of the Odd Future members who this could possibly be about, or it even could be just too vague for us to know now, but I am sure as these lines and the impact they are sending out on such a big level will be felt, we will eventually find this out. But now beyond the flash of Kendrick Lamar and TylerTheCreator features, well now on most modern albums, if they got stars these big, they would just coast for the rest of the project after getting literally probably the two biggest artists in rap that you can have on a record right now. Well, of course, why the Clipse are the Clipse, and what makes this album so much more than the filler trash that they have sworn to stand against, is the fact that with pretty much every song that is here, it is done with the same level of thought and passion, and why it ultimately reaches the high ceilings that it does, is that complementing these big tracks that are made to be these singles that will get pushed and put everywhere they possibly can, and are going to get the Clipse a lot of new fans because Tyler and Kendrick Lamar are massive and have these huge audiences who are going to hear Push and Malice together for the first time. Well, ultimately, what is going to make those people longtime listeners of the Clipse going forward is that there are amazing album tracks here where we have never seen Pusha T rap with more honesty and vulnerability, and ultimately, there are moments here that just bring me back to the feeling of why I love hip-hop the way I do here that few records truly have been able to in years, and one song I have to shout out here for doing this more than any other thing is the track that Pharrell insisted needed to be the intro of this project and said it was essential for the entire story arc of the record. And now, of course, this track that I am talking about is Birds Don't Sing, and with this song, well, this is one of the most beautiful tracks I have ever heard, and joins the likes of a song like Dance by Nas for me as being the pinnacle of what hip-hop as an art form can convey emotionally to specifically talk about the loss of a loved one.
Hi, I'm Madeline, a designer on the women's team at Biore, and I'm excited to talk about one of our favorite lifestyle collections.
And now, as Pusha T and Malice lost their mother and father just months apart, from the connections these brothers share to the verses they poured out everything in, which are these detailed accounts of the last memories they had with their parents, as Push talks about his mom and Malice talks about their dad. Well, with all of this, you can feel this raw emotion and realness that you hardly ever feel in rap today. And ultimately, as this track is so powerful emotionally, any single listener, whether they are returning or new, can understand the track and feel something so strongly. And to be honest, when you think about the era in hip-hop that Clipse comes from, and even the era now in rap in terms of what so many rappers try to get away with, to start off an album with such an emotional song, it is just a statement in of itself, which says so much, and shout out to John Legend for the amazing hook he has here, and also Stevie Wonder, who has some closing words which are so powerful yet so simply said. And now really, when we talk about what separates the great from the good albums, and even what actually defines a classic, and what gives listeners a powerful experience even with an artist that we met so long ago, well, trash rappers and bad artists and Drake take notes, because it's stuff like this that just shows that you are hearing from masters of the craft, and really to the point that we see this on through this entire record for both Push and Malice. What we end up seeing is that out of all of the Clipse albums, and even with their solo albums, you can say that Push and Malice never felt better placed than right on this record, and in terms of the past that they had as Clipse, they really feel like they evolved into the best versions of themselves. Because truly, despite their similarities with the journeys they went on, after the Clipse hiatus, which of course had Push never go further as he climbed up the ladder of the industry with good music, and then at the same time Malice transformed spiritually, well, clearly when you hear this record, you see that these experiences have shaped them to have more wisdom and knowledge in their own respective ways than ever, and from Push lashing back on the industry in this much wiser way than we have ever seen most rappers do here, because it's so clear that he has been exposed to so much horrible stuff, to Malice serving as the voice of reason here, who was always grounding this record and giving it a very consistent conscience. But what you end up seeing here, and to circle back to this idea of being an ultimate rap album in terms of embodying so much of what this genre has always meant, well, what Malice really ends up adding to this record, and what has been missing from so many rap records for years at this point, is something that has been intrinsically tied to hip-hop for about as long as its creation, which is just the spirituality that's supposed to be in the music, and from Malice's words to then the vulnerability that brings out in Push to the ultimate effect it has on the production and score from Pharrell, well, really, this record feels like an actual transcending experience at times, and to keep up this theme of just core hip-hop and getting back to what matters and what makes this genre amazing. Well, getting back to this idea of a rap group in an era where it feels like we have pretty much next to none, and seeing how these collectives of rappers work with one another to add two different perspectives and textures to the story and world of an album. Well, again, in an era where we have forgot about this, it's absolutely incredible and another display of top-tier album making from the Clipse. And speaking of these legends working as a group, well, at this point, with the role Pharrell played in this album from top to bottom, with the production to the 4 features he has here as a vocalist, I mean, Pharrell really is a member of this group, and after a little bit of an attempt to try and discredit P and say that he has not been as great of a producer in recent years as we once thought when he was running the industry as part of the Neptunes, well, as he is locked in here by himself behind the boards with these two top-tier MCs, Pharrell just delivered the production job that rappers would dream of having, and really on this entire record, there is not a single second of the instrumentals that are wasted, as from the sampling to the beat switches to all of the small details, which just show that Pharrell is one of the best composers in music, period. Well, walking out of this record, Pharrell's goat case is also looking better than ever, because to make a record that sounds like this lavish and grand scale of a project, and really just compare it to the records that Pharrell used to produce for them and see the progression and growth and just see how it evolves and tells a story in of itself. Well, really what we are seeing is that from the MCs to the ones and twos, this record is sending a message to every single artist in hip-hop to just step it up in the game or get out. And now one thing that I always will respect about Clipse and Pusha T especially is that Push has shown and told us that he is one of the most loyal people you will find in the entire music industry, and while Crash Outs will complain about Push having beef with people, although of course they are always terrible people in the industry, and that seems to be the common denominator. Well, once again, making those people who defend Drake and Travis Scott feel even worse because, again, they have never looked more wrong. When you see how loyal Pusha T is on this album, and see how on this same album that some of the biggest rappers out are on, people like Abliva and Dream are also here still, well, again, to see Clipse bring back their day ones, you just see that no decision made here was made for the numbers or the optics of it all, and it was just simply made to put together the best experience possible that represents the full and uncompromised version of who the Clipse are. And now even seeing good old Stove on this album on a hook that perfectly matched what Pusha and Malice are all about, of course, well, once again, for Push to reach so deep into the hip-hop world to make the best experience possible. It's just awesome to see this album, which ends up coming together with an ensemble that really does make it feel like an Avengers-type moment for music. And now, speaking of the Avengers, well, now, while Jay-Z deserves applause for helping this record actually come out through Roc Nation in the first place, this is not a criticism, but I think we can all just relate to this. It was disappointing that we didn't get to hear him on this actual project, although it's...
Yeah, because I thought, because there were rumors that Jay-Z will probably be on the Clipse album. I think Pusha T said on the breast cup interview, Jay didn't send back the birds for this album, though. So I guess Jay-Z didn't want to do it, or what's the story behind that, though? So, yeah.
Kind of a result of us as fans always fan casting things and then getting disappointed from our own expectations. But when you get over that...
Big heads up, your first real estate deal shall not, repeat after me, involve this. I'm going to show you.
In terms of the legends who are on this record, one MC who delivered arguably the best verse on the entire thing was none other than Nas. And now on the self-titled track, Let God Sort 'Em Out Chandeliers, this is a track that feels so classic in its atmosphere from Pharrell, and even with the DJ Clue ad-libs, which you hear a few times throughout this thing, and now after Push and Malice just go off on the first half of this track, well, on the second half of this track, which you hear these amazing horns kick in, which feel like the ultimate celebration and victory anthem of what is going on. Well, finally, you see the guy who to me embodies what it means to be a rapper and just to be hip-hop more than anyone else has in this thing for over 30 years, and of course none other than Nas. And for Nas, who is now in year 34 of his career since breaking out, keep that in mind, as he just ended up showing once and for all that rappers can stay ahead of Father Time if they really are about it, as Nas, between his presence and confidence on the mic still to his bars, which are filled with some subtle warnings but also some flexes to the fact that he is Nas at the end of the day. Well, altogether, Nas goes nuts on this track and stands as tall as you possibly could on a record with almost an entire feature list of first-tier Hall of Famers. And now, with Nas being on the second-to-last track on this album and being on the outro of the song, it also does feel like, in terms of the flow and story of this record, having a rapper who Push and Malice were inspired by and working with here lead up to a super powerful outro track where Push delivers his most emotional verse aside from the intro. Well, this does seem very intentional, and in terms of the hip-hop lineage on this record, well, to start off the record with Kendrick and Tyler, who both idolize the Clipse, as well as Tyler is the biggest Clipster according to Push himself, and you can find older interviews of Kendrick saying that some of their work are some of the most important albums that inspired him. Well, to have these newer generation names compared to when they came up do what they did, and then finish the record with an MC who the Clipse idolized coming up themselves. Well, to look at this record as this grand lineage and representation and celebration of hip-hop, I don't know if this was planned out or not, but it just ends up capturing so much of what makes this entire album feel special overall, which at the core is just this restoration of a feeling that hip-hop has missed for so long. And funny enough, in this era where Drake has brought rap down to its worst and there is still so much that needs to be fixed, even with Kendrick being the top guy now. Well, really, those only other albums that made me feel quite like this were Chromacopia from Tyler and then GNX from Kendrick. And now, really, when you look at what these records have represented in the culture, Let God Sort 'Em Out does feel like it's completing a series from these leaders of rap right now in terms of just giving us an experience that is embodying what a classic album in this era can and should be, as from every single detail in this thing, you can just feel the effort put into it at every corner and the greater messages and themes that are being presented. And now, while Push and Malice are in such a different point in their career than the last time we saw them together, and of course this record is far removed from their era. Well, right now this album is the best rap record to drop this year, and it's not even close. And from the classic verses here to all the disses and subliminals, which are going to get their own breakdown to what else could be next, because we know a lot of people want to take them down. Well, now, what is safe to say is that the Clipse has done what they set out to do, and they restored that feeling that hip-hop has missed. And now, with all of this said, let me know. What do you think of this new Clipse record? What are your favorite verses? Who do you think?
Yeah, man. So, yeah, the Clipse delivered this album, man. Shout out to Pharrell, though, man. I like the production of it, though. So, yeah, the Clipse did deliver this album a lot, though. So, yeah, I like it a lot, though. So, I know they're going to have a music video for Chains of Wit with Kendrick Lamar. That's be coming out real soon, though. So, I don't know when that's coming out, though. I don't know if they start filming it, though. I was disappointed that Jay-Z was on this album, too, because I really want that Jay-Z album. I think Jay-Z would probably took some blood shots at Nicki Minaj. I think he would, though. There's a possibility, though. But Jay-Z might probably do like an album of his own, though. So, yeah. So, let me know in the comments, guys. What you think about the Clipse new album? Think you like it? Think it's fire? I know when there was a Kendrick Lamar on the album, though, people gonna say, "Oh, Kendrick's gonna diss Drake again." Like, nah, but he didn't, though, because Kendrick was pretty much over it. So yeah, so we'll see what happens with this album, though. So yeah, so that's this video, guys. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out, y'all.